All right, the Fund Students, Not Systems legislation that's making its way through the Idaho State House had its first major debate today with public testimony in the House Education Committee. We touched on this a little bit last week and saw your messages asking us to follow up on new legislation that would allow state tax dollars to go to families to help pay for their child's education needs. The idea is seeing vocal support, but also major pushback. Some argue the concept under current Idaho law is simply against the law. Here's Joe Paris.
Legislation making its way through the Idaho State House tries to create more education options for families by giving them access to tax dollars. In short, the Hope and Opportunity Scholarship would create an education savings account. Eligible families would get about $6,000 per student from Idaho to spend on things like online learning programs, tutoring, textbooks, computer hardware, technology, things of that nature. But the legislation would also allow families to use tax dollars for tuition at a private school. This is a bridge too far for some. Supporters and critics went back and forth until the House Education Committee ran out of time early Monday. Debate centered on the quality and merits of public education in Idaho.
We support HB 669 for economic reasons. The 155-year-old government-dominated, union-driven education system established by Andrew Johnson in 1867 has lost its way. It is a monopoly and has become bloated and sloppy.
Whether you call it a savings account or you call it a voucher, the results are the same. You take away the ability for the state to regulate, account for public dollars, and most importantly, have no control over curriculum being taught.
Parents spoke about concerns with public school curriculum as a justification for the program. That idea was countered by parents who said taking money from public schools only makes it harder for everyone.
There is an inordinate amount of time now being spent teaching identity politics and social justice theories. The state of Idaho's education system, according to the World Population Review's 33 academic-based objective metrics, 33, is now ranked 38th out of 50.
This results in a defunding of public schools under this bill, which will invariably result in greater reliance on local levies and higher property taxes.
Supporters of the bill questioned why they couldn't use taxpayer dollars to better their child's specific education needs if the same money was already going toward supporting Idaho students. Critics point out that allowing public funds to go to private schools through ideas like this are simply illegal.
What we're really asking for is taxpayers' money in the hands of taxpayers. They can spend it better and be better students than D.C., who are spending it like drunken sailors. This money belongs to the parents, not a teachers' union or school.
This bill would divert taxpayer money from public schools to private and parochial schools at a time when Idaho ranks last in per pupil funding in the nation. Our state constitution requires the government to provide a free and thorough public education for the children in our state. Idaho's school districts and charters are doing just that.
Public schools and politicians that disrespect parents and restrict choice are paying the price across this nation. Don't add yourselves to that list. Please vote in favor of House Bill 669.
The committee meeting ended with no final decision or discussion on advancing the legislation to the full House. The entire session was taken up by public testimony. The discussion, though, is expected to come up again soon, as tomorrow or possibly later this week.
All right, Joe, so public money for private education, possibly. Legal concerns?
Yeah, there's legal concerns that it violates the United States Constitution and the Idaho Constitution, and there are questions out there right now saying, well, what if somehow this legislation does clear the House, it clears the Senate, and gets to the governor's desk? If it was signed into law, would this start happening? And that's really the situation we find ourselves in now, where it's this gray, uncharted territory, not in the sense of signing legislation that could be against the law, but going into this program that some are labeling as vouchers, the sponsors are calling it the scholarship program. There's legal questions about if you can use public money at all to fund private education. Now, supporters of the bill say there are ways to do it that are in line with, staying in the law, and they, cite campaigns and work in other states. But here in Idaho, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out specifically because of how it's written in the state constitution and the concerns. I'm under the impression from critics of the bill that they're trying to get an attorney general's opinion on this. Supporters of the bill say this is a scholarship to support families.
As we've seen before, though, legal concerns in no way stop the legislature nor the governor from signing bills.
Three-pronged system.
Yep. We'll see how it goes. All right. Thanks, Joe.